Hey folks, how's it going? This is Seagull here, back with another review of The Sims Sparked. This one is for the season finale, titled 3 Pro Sims Players Win $100,000 Playing The Sims 4. Like the previous episode, there's only one challenge, but now both teams are fully working together again. And of course there are going to be full spoilers for the episode as always. So the challenge is called Play with Life, which is having 6 hours to create a story that demonstrates the relationship the contestants have with the Sims. Create 3 Sims, a build, and a video to tell the story. And that's it! No crazy twist halfway through the challenge, and overall it's not as restrictive as the previous challenges. I liked that this challenge gave everyone the chance to interact a little bit more, especially when they were chatting outside about what their plan was going to be. We also got to see a bit more of the personal stories behind the contestants. Then, they recapped the journey of the 2 teams so far. Team Llama had a rough start with X Mira Mira and Dr. Gluon not seeing eye to eye, but then figuring it out by the end of episode 2 and becoming much stronger competitors for it. And Team Cowplant were in Team Gnome's shadow often, getting 2nd place, but then they barely avoided elimination with Team Gnome going home and Steffo Sims deciding to bow out of the competition, with the English Simmer returning to take over her position as the storyteller. Team Llama has an extra 15 minutes on the computer to create their story. It turns out that both teams have similar story ideas. I'm glad Molly overheard what Team Llama was going to do, so they had more of a chance to give a different angle. Even though she never directly worked with Avery and Ashley before the finale, things were going pretty well. As both teams were in the recording booth, Dr. Gluon and X Mira Mira really stood out, with Mira singing in Simlish, which really surprised me, and the judges even pointed out that, oh yeah, nobody really sang in this competition until now. As the teams were working with the editor, I could feel the rising tension. This time it was Simguru Ninja who got to have some friendly banter with everyone and poking fun at the scattered papers on Team Llama's desk. But he was still unsure who will win the $100,000. It was pretty crazy seeing how Team Cowplant just barely managed to export their video as their time ran out. Team Llama presented Mira's story of overcoming negativity to express her creativity and follow her dreams. She got bullied in school for her interest in video games. Thankfully, her mom is very supportive and got her a laptop. It really worked in the story's favor that The Sims 1 is one of the games that The Sims can play. As she got older, she still had people oppose her hobby, but found new friends and even got to sing for one of them, which was nice seeing where the singing actually fell into place, because I was like, oh okay, I mean this is nice, but it was so random, but then now it makes sense. But as her sim uses The Sims as a creative outlet and acted out their troubling moments, but with more favorable outcomes, we get the in-story reveal that yes, it's X Mira Mira, now an adult streaming the game. Team Cowplant also brought an interesting story. I found it pretty thought-provoking when Dr. Ashley said, we all have 2 voices inside our heads. One that tells us to express ourselves, and one that tells us to suppress ourselves. That really resonates with me. I love the transition between Avery, Ashley, and Molly telling this story with the voiceover. I almost felt like I was watching a commercial you just see for The Sims on TV. It was heartwarming seeing what The Sims meant to each of them too. I felt for the judges here. How do you decide between 2 very well told stories, especially considering the time limit, and only giving the 100k to one of them? When Kelsey said the bullying in Team Llama's story felt a bit comical, I was like, oh shoot, she has a point. That was only the big critical point that was shown, so I thought, well, I guess Team Cowplant is the one who's winning. But that didn't stop me from feeling really tense in the final seconds leading up to Rayvon revealing which team won the $100,000. And Team Llama won! The underdog team's comeback in episode 2 really paid off in the long run, leaving Team Cowplant in 2nd place once again. We did end with exactly what I was hoping for, a big group hug including the eliminated contestants, which made me feel the happy tears for sure. It still makes me wonder why they had a rule that made it so the English simmer had to replace Stepho Sims instead of D-Sims, but what's done is done at this point. I already voiced my criticism in my review of the previous episode. I would have been okay with either team winning. Team Llama's story was well edited, and I like the execution of how personal they made the story. While I can resonate with Team Llama's story, I felt more of that with Team Cowplants, and I did like the segue of the voiceover. It was very well done. One thing I can't help but point out is how blotchy the skin tone they used for Mira's mother was. It stood out to me a lot, just all of the red and the green. It sucks because their story was told so well, but seeing that skin tone took me out of it for a second. It's worth mentioning they reused a segment from the first episode where Mira talked about her melanin skin tone pack and why she made it. It's a rather surprising admission of a major flaw of the game for EA to include this not once but twice in the series. So it makes me hope even more that they'll reach out to Mira and get her help to fix the broken skin tones and introduce more, whether it's a copy-paste of her melanin pack or something very similar. I also wish we could have had at least a couple of confessionals from the eliminated contestants saying how happy they are for Team Llama winning. I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually film some, but just did not have the space to fit them in, especially considering they're made to air on TV first and have to account for commercial breaks and all that sort of stuff. Overall, I enjoyed watching this show, but it was so short, and I think they forced a bit too much drama, especially at the beginning. I also wish the Sims and the builds were judged a bit more. With the exception of the challenge in episode 3, where the categories were individual, the judging was so heavily weighted on the storytellers that I felt they had by far the toughest role. Maybe it's just because of my perspective as someone who spends the most time in Create a Sim and Live mode, but I think Stylist had the easiest role for sure. While I never asked for a Sims reality TV show, it was an interesting thing to try out, especially considering The Sims turned 20 this year. I'm surprised the show never mentioned that. The show did not blow me away by any means, but I had a good time. I can't decide whether episode 2 or the finale is my favorite. I don't feel optimistic that Sparked will get a second season, but if it does, I hope they can make it a few episodes longer and not have the weird exclusivity thing where it's on TBS first and not on BuzzFeed's YouTube until after the weekend. Maybe it should just be BuzzFeed handling it. It really kills the hype having scattered airings, even for those living in the United States. I guess this is what it's like when I watch my favorite TV shows, but then those in other places around the world don't get it until months later. It will be interesting to see who gets on the show through the Sparked Gallery challenges if a second season goes through. I don't know if they try any other ways to recruit competitors who are not EA Game Changers, but hopefully there can be a decent mix of Game Changers and non-Game Changers. It'd also be nice to have a few older competitors since it's pretty much always very young people who are in these sorts of things. But The Sims has been around 20 years, and there's plenty of us who have grown up with the game, but we were older when the game first came out. Not all of us were like 6 years old, so I think that would be nice to include some older competitors for a change. I know for a fact a few of the people on this show are like not super young without revealing anyone's age, but still I'd like to see more of that. And that's all I gotta say about the Sparked season finale and season 1 in general, so feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think of this show, and do you think Team Llama earned that win? And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Paralives, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!